My last devlog moderately blew up with lots of browse feature hits, so let's keep it going. Maybe you should hit like and write a comment right now just as a funny prank on the algorithm, and then watch the whole video through, of course. Welcome to Bun Devlog 24. One small issue with Bun's character controller I hadn't dealt with was the ability to climb up slopes. As long as it was below a 90-degree angle, you could run forward and spam jump to climb any surface. I designed all the levels without steep angles anyway, but on organic surfaces like the rocks that I used to line some of the levels, you could abuse this spam and get out of the map. This week, I finally found a solution that feels pretty natural using on-controller collider hit, a built-in Unity method for detecting character controller collisions that I did not know existed until this week. So fun piece of Unity trivia, this exists. When the player collides with the terrain, we calculate the angle between straight up and the normal of the collision, and if it's steeper than 45 degrees, we push the player away from the surface and prevent them from jumping until they're back on flat ground. Very nice. Alongside collectible impermanence that I added in the last devlog, I thought it would be nice to save the state levers are left in for every level. That way, if you've deactivated a barrier, activated a bouncy block, or done anything that happens in the game when you pull a lever, those changes persist when you revisit the level later. With this in the game, I can essentially make checkpoints that make it easier for the player to get back to hard to reach areas if they've already gotten there and flicked the lever. I found a comment on the Steam community forums for Bun's demo a couple weeks ago suggesting checkpoints since someone was frustrated when they kept falling. So this should help remedy that, as long as I put enough checkpointy elements in the levels. A long requested feature for the game, control remapping, is finally in Bun. From the settings menu, press the control remapping button to bring up a special menu with each action corresponding to a button for the input device that you're using. If you have a controller plugged in, the buttons on the right are going to light up and fill in their default bindings for you to change. However, there are a couple of issues with the control remapping system that I'd like to fix right now. For one, actions that are bound to the keyboard have to be rebound to keyboard buttons, and the same with mouse buttons. That means you can't bind something that was originally a keyboard action, say like W to move forward, to a mouse button and vice versa, which is pretty annoying and just kind of weird. This is because Rewired, the input management asset that I'm using, uses separate binding maps for keyboard, mouse, and joystick. So I made myself a coffee and it's time to fix it. Alright, it took about an hour, but I fixed that problem. Basically now if you rebind something switching from keyboard to mouse or vice versa, it unbinds it from the old map and binds it to the new one. This doesn't change anything from the player's perspective except for let you mix and match keyboard and mouse inputs for your bindings. I also never added the ability to rebind the camera controls, since I figured moving the mouse and using the right joystick for the camera are both super standard bindings. This might have been a little short-sighted, since I think for accessibility, like people using unconventional controllers, maybe using a DJ Hero controller, ideally everything should be rebindable. And since everything needs to be rebindable, there are a couple of bindings that I'm missing. So I fleshed out the remapping menu to include literally every action in the game, including UI submit, UI back, and pause buttons. I might have an issue if someone rebinds back and then can't leave the menu, but the mouse is always an option and the pause button always closes all menus and returns to the game. So I'm crossing my fingers that it'll be near enough impossible to hardlock yourself by accident. I'll have to test this thoroughly at some point to make sure though. With all of the updates I've made to Bun since last October, the demo out on the Steam page is already pretty outdated. To avoid giving players a subpar impression of the game, I've decided to deactivate the demo so it's no longer available. For the duration it was up, from October 1st of last year to now, 3,630 people have claimed the demo, and 534 have downloaded and played it. Of those that played it, their playtime is broken down like this. Although the percent of players that played for at least 1 hour says well below average compared to other Steam demos, I'm still pretty proud of these numbers. Keep in mind, from the beginning, I've been planning Bun as a short game, something you can play through in a couple of hours. For kind of a janky demo with incomplete controller support, I would call this a success, especially with all the feedback that it gave me that propelled the game to new heights. And since I'm working on improving the impression of Bun online, and like I mentioned in the last devlog, I figured it was time to update the Steam art assets. What I don't like about the existing capsule images is that although the different colors of the levels in the background look nice, the capsules are too small to really see the environments. So to keep it colorful but clarify the image, I'm going to use space as a background, using some of the particles for stars and sparkles from the game's main menu. Since it's set in space, I can also just throw some game assets on there and pretend they're floating in space, and hopefully build an intriguing capsule image. So I'm going to take a shot at it and see what I can come up with. Alright, I simplified my original design a little bit to a capsule with a space background, the bun logo, and bun slightly in front of it. Compared to the last capsule, I think it catches the eye better since the image has higher contrast, and putting a fully 3D bun on there makes it clear that it's a stylized, 3D character-based game at a glance. I went ahead and put it up on the Steam page, and I think it looks great. Next up for the Steam page is definitely a new trailer and probably a new set of screenshots as well, but those are going to have to wait for the next devlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and wishlist bun on Steam, and I'll catch you in the next devlog. Peace.